Uganda has always had a flourishing social event scene. Bayimba, Reggae on the Nile, Nyege, blankets and wine. The list is endless. Kampala for a couple of years even had its very own carnival. This is excluding any international acts coming into the country to perform. It's pretty obvious, days out in Uganda are a big deal. Few activities capture Ugandans by the multitudes. Before TikTok and Instagram Reels, arguably only the Uganda Cranes, the national football team, had such a great cultural significance, and it has made it to the continent's biggest competition, the African Cup of Nations, only once in over 40 years. I am not an authority on the party scene, but it seems to me that it is hard to identify what is Uganda's favorite event. Or is it? Maybe if we look back a few years, we could see the top attended, most hyped, the biggest of big deals. There is one event that paved the way for all these more recent festivals, and at its mention, you will definitely agree with me. It is the Ascot goat race. Kalunji Kabuye put it quite rightly. In the beginning were goat races. Now I'm sure I might have some pushback from both the younger and the older generation, but today we are talking about Uganda's greatest social event and why you've forgotten it. Welcome to Short Millennial Stories, a place where we go through the history. Leave a like and subscribe. Help support this channel as we march to 1,000 subscribers. In 1993, Uganda had expatriates, that is to say, foreigners living and working in the country. These were part of a sailing club in Entebbe. They found themselves touched with the conditions of the society around them. Aiding the impoverished people surrounding them was a challenge they wanted to assist in, coupled with the fact that there was probably homesickness and boredom that would understandably happen once in a while. To solve these issues, a fundraising event was tabled, but it needed its own pool of attraction. How would it be able to not only bring crowds, but also create cheerful givers to this cause? I'm sure many ideas were drafted, and most fell through. In search of the right one, inspiration was sought and found from a familiar source. The Royal Ascot race is a big deal in England. If you are unaware, the Royal Ascot race is a famous race course, one of the biggest events in Britain, if not the biggest during the summer. This race is instilled in heritage and tradition. These annual races started over 300 years ago. It has a strong association with the royal family. These royal ties were magnified with the enthusiasm of the late Queen Elizabeth II. It's well documented that she was a keen horse breeder. The races have been dramatized even in James Bond movies, showing just how it bleeds into pop culture. The noticeable characteristics of these races are the attendance of the nobility, the who is who, the handsome entry ticket fee, but most definitely the dress code of the event. The last one will be a crucial trait and shall be returned upon later. However, as hinted earlier, the Royal Ascot race has racehorses as a main character. So why does its Ugandan imitation have goats instead? One could argue that this is due to the scarcity and the huge expenses associated with horse breeding in Uganda. Bear in mind we're talking about 1993. However, the answer probably is that the goat race was always a parody of the original, a harmless joke at the expense of what could arguably be seen as snobbery. The people who attend the horse races are usually British aristocracy, the wealthy and the royal family. The mandatory dress code is definitely something you won't normally see. It appears like a prom for adults that only the highest in society would want to attend. So the expatriates mocked it. Instead of fancy dressing, outlandish costumes were rewarded with prizes. The gods competing had ridiculous names as well. All the bets would be donated to the aforementioned cause. Gambling with a cause just permitted people to spend without feeling like they were pressured to, but actually out of their own pleasure. The competition element was stripped out for the most part, but that is as far as the differences could go in my estimation. From its creation in the 1990s to its peak in the mid-2000s, a lot has happened. It was hosted firstly in Chadondo rugby grounds, but left due to inadequate space, enjoying a new home in Munyonyo with an enthusiastic partner and a rising in prominence rich man, Sudhir Ruparelia, as its host. The party-themed event adopted into a more family-oriented and networking occasion in comparison to its early days. The kids had their own corner. People who had little interest in the races were entertained by exhibition tents of sponsors, musicians, and Nyamachoma. Uganda's movers and shakers were regular attendants of the event, from fashion designers like Sylvia Awori to politicians like the late Sevana Chizito and the rising titans of business in real estate and telecommunication, musicians, comedians, and decorated soldiers. Pick your poison. Most likely, they were there. So what happened? What changed? Why isn't it the most talked about show in the 2020s? Unfortunately, I do not have the inside scoop on that, but from the outside, the inconsistencies made it lose its relevance in pop culture. It has had just 2 editions in the last decade. To paint a clearer picture, we have had 3 World Cups since 2012. Baby Gloria was still a baby, and Airtel had just taken over Warid.
Once again, the goat race time is here. It's the biggest social event in Uganda for the last 25 years.
Just as it was going to have its first back-to-back editions in a while, a worldwide pandemic took stronghold, killing off all public events. If you go to the official website, their last posting was in 2019. However, there is a glimmer of hope. One can only hope that this promise will be fulfilled.